Welcome to On Mission with Dr. Matt Davis. I'm Jonathan Sheeley. We're here on a in-between season recap and preview.
Can't wait to share with you all the great things we've got planned for Season 4. But before we do, we wanted to take a moment to just look back at Season 3 and talk about some of our highlights as we've seen and had some really incredible conversations.
We got to start with the OG Dr. Oates. What a phenomenal conversation with someone who knows more about ministry than so many of us just respect his time and his faithfulness here at the school.
What I love about Dr. Oates and what comes through in every conversation you have with him, whether it's about basketball or photography or any of his incredible number of hobbies that he has, what I love about Dr. Oates is that it always comes through his love for God's Word. Mm-hmm. And he is just a consummate professional student of the Word of God. And so he has so much to offer, and I've had so many conversations with him over the years where I've learned so much. In fact, he was a professor of mine when I was a student, and so even going back to those days. But the episode with Dr. Oates is definitely a can't miss, and that was actually the first episode of Season 3.
Yeah. And we moved right along, and we had some great new faces on the show when I was on the road, being able to connect with some of the speakers there.
Yeah, you got to go to the Answers in Genesis conference. That was a pretty cool experience.
It's a good pilgrimage every fall. Go to the College Expo for several years and speak with a couple of ladies. Patricia Angler has a phenomenal story. You got to check it out on the Answers in Genesis website. Backpacking.
I listened to that one the other day when I was out. I would like to say running, but it was more like walking. But not even. Was it even walking fast? Not really. All right, but I was out exercising. We'll say that. And I'm listening to that particular episode. And what really struck me was that as a young person, she had a passion for ministering to even younger teens. And that's a pretty rare thing. You know, most people are pretty introverted and introspective at that point in life. And that's when the ministry she has operated her entire adult life really started, was when she was like 17 years old.
And the vision that she had for the ministry is focused on the Word, and she needed to know more of the Word, and just in her personal passion, if she was going to know the Word better, then she might as well teach someone else while she's at it. But then moving on, getting to new faces on our campus with Coach Fuller, Dean Fuller. Boy, what a great guy.
He's enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I love seeing him out on the basketball court. He's kind of a maniac. Like, when the team wins, you know, they all go out in the middle, and it's usually just the players. Right. But then you look in the middle, and here's Coach Fuller, like, going bananas.
And he's a giant, so, you know, you can't miss him.
He's a big guy, but I love the enthusiasm. I love his passion for our students, for mentoring college students, and just being for them, help them find and follow God's will for their life. That is just... There's nothing like it, and he has just been a great addition to the campus.
Right, what a multifaceted professional.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even realize he's a musician, like extraordinaire, and he's also a tech guy. Right. Like, he can program you an app, you know,
and he can edit audio with the best of them, you know, as a combined talent.
Well, we get him behind the scenes on the podcast.
Right. We'll get him on here
as if he's not busy enough. Right. Maybe we'll wait till after basketball season. You want me to go now?
Oh, yeah. Right. So, and then you were traveling too. So you spent some time overseas, actually.
I did, as a matter of fact. It seems like a lifetime ago, but last summer, my wife and I and the Brocks got a chance to visit India and meet up again with some folks that we met a few years ago. And this time around, I took all the equipment, and we sat in the middle of a barren field, and with the chickens walking by and kids playing cricket literally next door.
There's some, and not, in cricket the game, not crickets actually, not animals.
Well, no, cricket the game, which is very popular over there, and which is completely bonkers. I have no idea, like, the rules. You can hit the ball behind you, and that counts. I mean, I'm looking at this going, how do you fail in cricket? You swing, if you make contact, it's a hit. I mean,
it just looks like fun. The bat's different.
We had a lot of fun with the students there. They're just college students. And that's what you find out is all over the world, college students are the best. And so I sat down with a couple of Bible professors, and oh man, you you don't want to miss. If you didn't have a chance to listen to that episode, go back and look at episode 4 from season 3. Professor Emmanuel, Professor Nyack, and there are a host of professors there that have very similar stories, but how God rescued them from the circumstances that they were born into is just a very challenging story, because I'm thinking about my faith, and what I've had to endure is just nothing compared to what these folks endure on a regular basis, and yet we serve the same God.
Right.
What an incredible
so many of us talk about our stories in America as being saved before getting into certain problems,
which is great.
But these people were saved out of problems.
Yeah, like witchcraft and demon worship and hexes being put on people and curses and, just unbelievable spiritual oppression. So be praying for them, especially too, as they are continuing to serve the Lord there, and their students are just precious. And so, in fact, our dean of the seminary, Mark Herbster, and his wife are traveling back to India in January and going to link up with the school there, Heritage Baptist College and Seminary in Trichy. And I've given them all the notes, like, here's who you got to say hello to, and tell these guys we're praying for them and we love them, and we just consider them to be just precious friends and brothers in Christ.
Right, ministry partners.
Yeah,
around
absolutely. The world. Even though they're on the other side of the world. Then we talked to the Marriotts. I mean, that was a precious episode. And here's Dr. and Mrs. M kind of giving like their origin story, And it was so fascinating how they both end up at Maranatha at the same time, but yet totally different life story. Yeah. And, I've heard it a lot of times, but to be able to capture that and share that with folks is really a great thing.
They're a package deal. I mean, anyone who knows either of them knows that they are still in love with each other. And it's apparent, and what a blessing they've been to all of the communities they've been a part of. And sometimes it's nice, even in this kind of this opportunity, to sit down at a table and hear their story in a different environment that maybe you would hear that environment.
You see a different side.
Right. Mrs. Marriott has the ladies over for, tea and for prayer meeting and stuff over there at the house. And obviously we see Doc around campus in meetings and such, but to see them together ministering that's fun. It's just really fun.
We also had a chance in season 3 to talk to my father-in-law, captured that conversation in his garage, the Southern Illinois studio for On Mission. Right. A little echoey, and our audio guys had fun with that. But really, again, he's a retired college professor from a secular institution, communications and journalism, and just to kind of get the lessons learned, from a life well lived and from his perspective on things like professionalism, and how a Christian really ought to be at the top of their game professionally. It's no excuse to slack off in your trade, making it your craft and honing your skills. And he's just been a lifelong example of that. So that was a precious conversation as well from season 3.
And boy, do we have some good things coming up. It's not just new conversations to have, but a new way for you to consume those conversations.
New format. We will have video for season 4. And in fact, we are going to live stream the podcast for the first time. And I'm a little nervous about that. I don't know if you are.
Oh, absolutely, because I have to read scripts.
Well, but not only that, but every once in a while, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while, there's like a slip of the tongue. We don't say something exactly perfectly, and we have to go back and edit. People don't even realize that now.
No, because Isaiah makes us sound phenomenal.
Isaiah Odkin is our engineer, and he makes us sound very good. And now I'm worried because you can't hide on a live stream.
I know.
People
the
will
mask
see.
will be turned off.
We'll see it all. So, but those are usually filmed on Thursday mornings. And so if you want to catch it literally live, you would be able to do that. And you'll want to check out our YouTube channel, and we will put that in the link below. And you can subscribe to that. In fact, we'll try and put this very video into the new channel for On Mission underneath the MBU University YouTube account.
And be looking for snippets of our conversations in other places. So we've had several conversations already that we've recorded, and we have captured a lot of really great content that doesn't always hit the cut for the timing on audio podcasts. And so every once in a while there are conversations that we're gonna start posting these side missions,
side missions,
if you want to say it that way. And sometimes there are just really pithy parts, 60 seconds that can be very powerful and very encouraging. Be looking for those as well. So we got some really great conversations that we know we're having here in season 4.
Yes, looking forward to a few of our guests that we've already got booked, and it's going to be another great season. It's hard to imagine we're into season 4.
I know. We're over a year into production, and it was an idea for a long time that has been realized. And some of these conversations coming up, we have another board member, Will Cover, pastor down in Houston, Texas.
Yeah,
and
young
good
pastor.
Friend of mine for well over 10 years.
People are saying, like, where's the younger generation of pastors to come in and fill the ranks? Hey, they're coming.
Guys.
They're coming. Yeah. These are the guys. And listen to the heart. I mean, here's a guy who's planting a church in Houston, Texas. And I asked him the question, like, was there a shortage of Baptist churches in Texas, in Houston, Texas? And he said, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And
population
he
just expanding
that.
and the different areas that churches are historically planted, and he decided on something new and finding a population that really needed the gospel.
Carl Kirby, a renowned, world famous guy, big guy.
With his own YouTube channel.
He well, much bigger than ours.
Right.
But he is a very well-known apologist, and he has his own ministry. He goes around to different college campuses, mostly secular college campuses, and does apologetics work and defends the faith. He does creation defense and really just argues with people in a Christian way.
Right.
And tries to confront them with a reality that sadly secular schools are no longer even acknowledging or presenting.
Right, and I think the way that he does it is particularly effective in just getting people to think.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the whole thing, is get people to look at their own logic, and he uses people's words. He doesn't even have to establish his own arguments. He's using other people's arguments.
But he's entertaining and keeps it moving. I mean, the stuff is fast-paced, and, you got to listen fast.
Right.
But great conversation with him, and interested to find out a little bit about his family, so you'll want to check that episode out for sure.
And one of your friends, someone who is a fellow lawyer, Daniel Sir. What a great conversation that we had at the podcast. But he also was on campus for a General Assembly, really invested in the youth around here. It was just a really great time to see someone who is at the top of his game and who is taking time to invest in the next generation.
He is the managing attorney for a national First Amendment defense firm. I mean, these guys take cases to the Supreme Court. Right. They are on the front lines defending our rights to serve God as the Bible tells us to do it. Mm-hmm. And so if we don't exercise these rights, we're going to lose them. And here's Daniel Sir. But he's not only doing that, he's also at the same time investing in another generation. And he's a younger guy, but yet he sees the need to continually backfill the ranks with, that next generation. Tony Kinnett, a Maranatha grad, making good in the world. Yeah, from your era.
Yeah. Really great guy. We were chamber choir mates. And doing some amazing things. We always knew Tony was up to no good.
Something. He was always up to something.
Campus. Yeah. And really excited to have him here on campus.
He's working now with the Heritage Foundation, which we love. They do incredible work.
Yeah, and that'll be a good story to tell on someone who lived out his faith.
There is no easy path for any of us. Right. And if we're going to stand for the truth, we can expect opposition. Mm-hmm. And I remember texting Tony the very night that it was announced that he was losing his job for taking a stand for truth and for exposing some of the things that were happening. And he said, I totally expected this. Yeah. I knew that this might happen, probably would happen, but I have to do what's right. What a testimony.
I think it's exactly the conversations that our current students need to see because that's what they're going to have to do themselves. And in a world that is becoming more and more antagonistic to our belief system, we have to just know that this is part and parcel with living out our faith.
That's right. That's what it means to be on mission. It means that I'm about something bigger than myself. And every one of the guests that we talk to, I always tell them, listen, this is a podcast dedicated to conversations with people who have accomplished something in life, who have something to show, for their dedication and faithfulness, that have proven themselves, and that have proven that their lives are about something bigger than just advancing themselves, that they're living for eternity. And I think that's all any of us want. Mm-hmm. We just want to know that our life counts, that it matters. And so I just want to thank you for giving us an opportunity. This show only exists because there's a listener support base that is there, and we hear your encouraging comments. If there are guests or others that you think we ought to talk to, I'm all ears.
Yeah,
and we would reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if this has been a blessing, we'd love to hear from you as well. And so thank you so much for joining us and for giving us the privilege of really bringing to you the insights and the lessons from those that appear as guests on the podcast.
You know, some things that you can do if you're enjoying this content is, first of all, just tell someone else to listen to. And not just providing us with the feedback, but give it to someone else so they can be blessed as well. If you want to continue to keep up, make sure you're subscribing on whatever platform you're listening to the audio only, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or Google. But if you're going to see all these video content, you make sure you subscribe here on the Maranatha YouTube channel.
I listen on Google. Which one is your preferred?
Apple.
You go to the iTunes route?
No, not iTunes. Apple Podcasts.
Is iTunes still a thing?
No.
They don't have that
not
anymore?
Really. You don't buy content.
Is there an app? Is there an iTunes app?
I don't think so.
It's just Apple now?
Mm-hmm. Apple Podcasts.